What is up, guys? Welcome to episode number 5 of Let's Talk Football, Sis. And not only are we already into episode number 5, but we are finally at the brink of NFL season. We are ready to kick shit off on Thursday, the day you're listening to this podcast. Thursday Night Football is kicking off. Dallas versus Eagles, big time matchup. It's going to be a great fucking game. And this week, our entire episode is going to be different than what you've already had from us. Previously, we've talked about how to set up a league. We've talked about draft strategy, all of that good stuff. Well, at this point, the drafts are done. Your team is locked in. And now we're finally talking about sit-start strategies for week number 1 because NFL football is back, baby.
Oh, so freaking pumped for it to be back. There's nothing better than just knowing that my weekend is booked simply because I get to watch football. I think our parents understand. My in-laws sometimes like, what? You have to watch football? I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, it's part of my weekend. And that's what we're going to kind of get into next with what the hell do we do on a football day? Because it's very important to us. It's like a holiday when the football season starts.
Every Sunday is a day in which we observe and it is booked and you do not take our Sundays from us, okay?
No, not at all. So my ideal, football, we're calling it our football rot day.
Football rot day. Point here,
day.
baby.
Hashtag football rot day. Would be, I like to front load everything of my day. So I'm going to get all of the stuff that I don't love doing done before, I would say probably before noon. So I can really get prepped and ready for the games to start. So I'm going to do my errands. I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to go, run a couple miles so that I can literally sit on the couch and maybe have 1,000 steps the rest of the day when I look at my data. And then I'm going to make sure this weekend, particularly, I'm going to have my favorite football foods ready to go. Buffalo chicken dip will be made. Probably these bomb-ass pretzels Amanda and I make will be made. So I will set myself up for success with all of that. I'll have a Diet Pepsi in hand. I will be ready to go. What is your ideal rot day, Amanda?
God, very similar, but typically, so we have a group, there's 4 of us who like to play pickleball, and specifically when NFL football kicks off, we all play fantasy football, we all like pickleball, so we do a couple hours of pickleball in the morning, and we get after it. Of course, the weather here in Ohio has officially hit fall, so it's enjoyable weather. We play a shit ton of pickleball, go to the grocery store, get everything we need for the week, that way we're prepped and ready to go, and then similar, we just freaking raw on the couch. Now we have a very elaborate 3 TV setup in our home. We've got, a big screen with Red Zone, which obviously we're big Red Zone people around this part because I want to know everything that's happening in every single game. We have a feature game on our TV that sits on our fireplace. That's for maybe the 2 games that we have most of our fantasy, me and my husband are both fantasy obsessed. So 2 teams that maybe we have most fantasy players on, we have that on. And then we have a feature game on a foldable table next to all the TVs. And that's either the Browns or Steelers based on who's playing. I'm a Steelers fan. Unfortunately, he's a Browns fan, but we do what we got to do here. However, that is our ideal setup. And then I am ass on the couch practicing a really great I held the longest plank ever on Sundays because I'm in a plank position all day on my ass, right?
I was you working out while you're watching football, girl?
Oh, yeah. I'm planking. I'm side planking.
Isn't that
my core
a yoga pose, corpse pose or something?
Shavasana, corpse pose. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The last pose of yoga. Fun fact, also 200-hour registered yoga teacher. So unfortunately, we know a lot. We know a lot about the yoga. But yeah, we're going to corpse pose it up. I'm going to meditate to my favorite thing ever, which is NFL football, baby. So we are so excited to kick everything off. So we're going to jump into this episode like we talked about. We're going to talk all things sit-start strategies for week number 1. But before we go over every game, because we're going to go game by game by game and fire a bunch of shit at you, before we do that, we're going to talk about our sweet and spicy starts of the week, baby. Sweet and spicy starts of the week. We're going to do this every single week before game day, talking about who we're really hot on and who we think maybe is a hot take start that you should consider starting. So I'll kick us off here. My sweet start of the week is CMC. I think CMC, we already know this. I think he's going to have a great week. It's a very, very safe bet. He's going to do well, specifically in week number 1. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt all season long. He's going to be a game changer, and not only week 1 of fantasy, but all year long. So he is my, for sure, locked in sweet start. My spicy start of the week Tyler Warren. Not that that's fake. It might be like a lukewarm take, but that's fine. I believe that he's going to perform well. Obviously, he is the feature tight end in Indianapolis at the Colts, and obviously a little unknown because he's a rookie. But I think he's going to just rock that offense's world and become a huge target and maybe, just maybe, make his way up in the elite tight end conversation alongside my brother, Brock Bowers. So I think Tyler Warren's going to take fantasy by storm this year, and he should be a no-brainer week 1 starter for you.
I like those. Good picks. So my sweet pick for the week would be Tetairoa McMillan. Yes, he is a rookie. He's going into his first game in the NFL, but I have really good feelings about it. I think he's going to step into that, wide receiver 1 role for Bryce Young, and be that like alpha receiver that he's looking for. Yes, there's a little bit of unknowns for a rookie, but his size, his ability, all things leading to really stellar play throughout the year. And it helps that the matchup this week is very favorable for the Carolina offense. So my Sabase pick of the week is Keon Coleman with the Bills. It's his second year in the offense. Rookie season didn't really go, I think, as everyone planned, probably not as he planned, but I think he's going to come into season 2 really kicking some ass. He's going to be a deep threat, deep target for Josh Allen, and I think he's just going to set the Bills field on fire. Because he's so spicy.
Because he's spicy. I love it. I love it. So I couldn't agree more. I think those are great takes. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into, like I said, the meat and potatoes of this episode. Before we get into game by game sit-start strategy, I want to go over one piece of logistical advice with you when we talk about who we're sitting and where we're placing them on our starting roster. So if you are in a league that is both like a standard flex league or even a super flex league as well, this is going to be super helpful for you just to know how to optimize your roster in case an injury happens, which we know is absolutely going to happen. Maybe not right out of the gate here, but you're going to end up with some week 1 injuries. So what I want you to look at is when you're looking at your app, whether it's Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, anything like that, you want to make sure that you're looking at who you're placing in your flex or your starting role positions. So your starting role positions, your running backs, your wide receivers. You want to make sure that you're putting the guys who play earlier in their actual position. So let's take CeeDee Lamb as an example here because he's a great example. I have CeeDee Lamb on my team. He plays Thursday at 8:20, so he's a Thursday night game. I would not play CeeDee Lamb in my flex role because he's going to play first. Once they play, they're locked in. You cannot change that player. Well, I don't want to place him on my flex role because what if right before the kickoff happened, CeeDee Lamb got hurt? Or if I was going to play a player later in the week and that player ended up getting hurt and I couldn't play them anymore, and I already had CeeDee Lamb locked into another spot in my flex, he already played. Well, oh shit, now I can't put another player if maybe another wide receiver got hurt. I can't put another player in my flex role because I already locked CeeDee Lamb in there. So if I keep CeeDee Lamb in his wide receiver role, then I have the option to place someone else in my flex. If let's say I have Jameson Williams in my flex right now, he plays Sunday at 4:25. If for some reason news came out that before kickoff of 4:25 games, Jameson Williams was hurt, well, now I could put anyone in that role. I could put a running back or a tight end in that role. So I have more pivotable? Is that a word?
Yeah, I think it is now.
pivot options. I have more pivot options. Okay. So just think about that. Don't overanalyze it. Sometimes it's not going to be able to work out that way because, I wasn't going to flex a running back this week, right? And so, but again, if someone were to get hurt, I had the option to maybe come down here and say, oh shit, okay, Jameson Williams hurt. I don't really have another great, well, I do, but let's say I didn't have a Mecca Book on my bench. I was like, okay, I got to start Austin Eckler in that flex position. No big deal. I can now make that option happen. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at your roster. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that on our screen and see what I mean a little bit more. But if you're just listening to us on audio, you just want to make sure guys who play earlier are locked into their starting roles. Guys who play later, you place in that flex, if you can, of course. That way you just have a pivot option available as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's good game plan. Really familiarize yourself with it because it's only going to help you make those changes that will happen. It will happen. That's fantasy football. That's football. Like last minute things happen and you're like scrambling. We're here to help you not scramble. All right. So you want to start getting into these sit and starts of the week?
sit starts of the week, baby. Let's do this shit. All right, let's kick off. Dallas Eagles, kick it off for us, and let's go.
All right, so there's some pretty obvious starts. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, start them all. They're all going to have really good games, have good targets downfield, be the targets downfield. Now, the risky pick here would be Javonte Williams. Amanda, tell them why Javonte is just a little bit riskier of a start.
Yeah, obviously Javonte Williams is coming off of a not-so-great season last year with the Broncos, and we don't know if he's going to perform well for the Cowboys or not. However, the upside of Javonte Williams is that he does have a starting running back role. There's a lot of running backs who you might be on the fence with who might not have clear running back roles in their offense just yet. So I think Javonte Williams is favorable for that reason. However, we just don't know how he's going to perform. So if he's your only option, I think he's a fine starter. I do believe you should be thinking about starting Javonte Williams over Jadon Blue. Jadon Blue is the rookie for Dallas. I think he should be on your bench. At some point in the back half of the year, could Jadon Blue take over the backfield? Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. But we just don't know if that's going to happen. So I think Javonte Williams is fine. I'm just going to run through some options here. Like if you're deciding between like starting Austin Eckler or Javonte Williams, I'm going Eckler over Williams. Hands down. If you're thinking Caleb Johnson for the Steelers versus Javonte Williams, I'm going to favor Javonte Williams because we don't know about Caleb Johnson's role, and Jaylen Warren did just get paid. That means they're at least guaranteed to Jaylen Warren for the next couple of years. So Caleb Johnson's going to be a role, but not an impactor right out the gate. If I was talking about Travis Etienne or Javonte Williams, that one is incredibly hard for me.
Yeah.
I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Travis Etienne over Javonte Williams, but you could really do either there. It's kind of a dealer's choice at that point. You're kind of working with some more sketch-ass running backs at that point. Yeah. Again, I wouldn't be talking about putting Javonte in a flex role. If you have two other starting running backs, keep Javonte Williams on your bench for week number 1.
And like she said, sit Jadon Blue, and then we just kind of grouped it as a sit the defense because they've lost some key players like Micah Parsons. I just don't see starting the defense as, and we're not going to go too deep into defenses, but some matchups are just kind of like obvious, like maybe don't stream that defense, let's say that week. All right, moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champs, reigning Super Bowl champs. Here we go. Okay. Obvious starts here again, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. And then we have Dallas Goedert put in there as the tight end. Now, if he is your, solid tight end, then play him, obviously. And then we don't really have any sits for the Eagles because they're just that damn good on the offense. Yeah. They have a really strong, kick-ass offense, so projected to perform well.
Absolutely. If Dallas Goedert is not your only tight end, you could sit him down. If you have another guy, like again, Tyler Warren over Dallas Goedert, Tyler Warren, go for it. Risk it for the biscuit. But Dallas Goedert, if he's only your tight end, go for it. So moving on deeper into the week here, Kansas City versus the Chargers. We'll start with Kansas City. Lots of guys to talk about here as must starts, and then some guys to maybe be questioning about as well. So Patrick Mahomes, must start. Isaiah Pacheco, must start. Xavier Worthy, obviously must start, specifically with Rashee Rice missing at least 6 games or 6 games for sure. Yeah. He's going to experience a large target share, so he should be an auto start for you for the foreseeable future. That might change in the back half of the year. I think that Travis Kelce is a must start as well, specifically if he's your only tight end. Usually if you drafted Travis Kelce, you didn't draft another tight end, or if you did it, he's way down the draft board. Travis Kelce over a lot of the guys later rounds, absolutely. Go ahead and give him a start week 1. The only guys that we're kind of talking about like sit options, I would probably sit down Hollywood Brown. Most people didn't even take him in the draft. I've seen a lot of people take him after the draft was over in free agency. I wouldn't start him week number 1. I think there's too much of a question mark behind his role with the offense right now. Yeah. And then Juju, a lot of times Juju did not get drafted either, except if you're in a super duper deep league. If you're in an incredibly deep league, like a 14 or 16 team league, and you were like, I was scrounging for wide receivers and I have Hollywood Brown. Sure. If he's like an only viable option, I think he's fine. I just would personally suggest like Matthew Golden over Hollywood Brown, Josh Downs over Hollywood Brown if he's healthy, Keon Coleman over Hollywood Brown. I would even personally put Cooper Kupp ahead of Hollywood Brown, but that's just personal opinion.
Okay.
Cool. Move on to the Chargers, Ange.
Moving on to the Chargers. I love this first start in Omarion Hampton. Yes, he's a rookie, but I think he is just going to step right into that backfield role, especially with Maida likes to call him Pirate Najee, but kind of still on the back end of getting better, really not participating as much as I think we would like going into week one. Lad McConkey's a must start. And then Justin Herbert also able to be a must start here for the Chargers in week one.
Yeah, absolutely. Only risky option here for the Chargers is Keenan Allen. Obviously, this is his original team. He left, he came back. We saw Keenan Allen perform very, very well last year. And I ultimately think we have high hopes for him this year. He is on the older side, sure. But I personally think he's going to end up performing very well. And he's a start ahead of Trey Harris. So Trey Harris, rookie. I would start Keenan Allen way above him for sure. If you have Trey Harris, I would sit him on your bench for now. Wait to see his production, see if he's worth it or not. He might never do anything this year. We don't know. If, again, you're scrounging for a wide receiver or you ended up loading up on running backs early in your draft and had a little bit of a hard time with wide receivers later, Keenan Allen is a viable week one start as well. Yeah. Just slightly risque, might I say.
But could pay
All right,
off.
moving on. Next game here, we have Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Dive into Tampa Bay. And
so obvious starts here would be Baker Mayfield. He's just big ball in Baker Mayfield.
Big ball in Baker Mayfield.
Mike Evans is going to be his main target, especially with Godwin and McMillan not in play right now. And then this one could be a risky move, but I like it. I'm going to full ass send on Emeka Egbuka as a start, especially like I said before with the Mike Evans with Godwin and McMillan out. He's going to be the other side of the field, the other target for Baker. So start him.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously there's some concern about, a rookie stepping into a wide receiver role. But like Ange said, Godwin and McMillan are out. So we saw Godwin and Evans last year share targets well and perform individually really well in fantasy football. And so I think the same thing will be true of Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka. I have this big debate currently with myself about sit starts for week one, right? Because I have Emeka Egbuka. I also have Jalen Waddle, and I don't know who to go with. I have Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle, and Emeka Egbuka, and all three of them, I just don't know who do I plug in to my start, who do I sit. I'm leaning right now towards the veterans, but a little hint of me is like, you know what? Fuck it. Go for it. Might as well risk it for the biscuit early and throw Emeka Egbuka in there over one of those guys. But definitely an option. Yes, risky, but I say just go for it. Go for it.
The little devil on your shoulder was winning on that one.
Yeah, so take a deep breath and submit, and then just stop looking at your phone and go enjoy football.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, other side of the football, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Obvious starts. Bijan Mustard himself, Bijan Robinson. We've got Drake London. He is an absolute must start. The only other guy here I would consider as a must start, essentially only if he's your only tight end, is Kyle Pitts. If you have another tight end, no, I wouldn't start Michael Pitts.
You didn't say his name right.
Kyle Pitty Pitts. Stinky Pitty Pitty Pitts. Stinky Pitty Pitty Pitts. Listen, I hate Kyle Pitts. Mostly because, if you hate Kyle Pitts, it's because you were burned dramatically by the hype of Kyle Pitts.
You have been personally victimized by Kyle Pitts.
Fucking asshole, man. Anyways, he's a viable option as he's your only tight end. He was a really late draft pick, so you could have got him in rounds 9 to 10. Yep. And again, he has upside. Who knows? Maybe this is really his breakout year. And I'm using quotation marks if you're listening because they've said that for 3 years now about him. Yeah. But maybe it is. If for some reason you have another player, I know Ange is deciding between Njoku and Pitts, and she's going to go to Njoku over Pitts. I agree with that decision for sure. Yeah. The only sit here on the side of the Falcons football is Darnell Mooney. Injury concerns. We just don't know if he's going to be fully back. He might be ruled out for week number 1. We're not aware just yet, but I would not start him regardless. I would let him sit down for week 1 and go with other options.
Absolutely. And then moving on to Cincinnati and Cleveland. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch.
I agree.
I don't really ever, I'm going to be honest, I don't ever really root against Cleveland, even though we're Pittsburgh fans. I kind of like an underdog story. So I'm usually
so bad. It's hard.
Pull it out, but it is hard. But for Cincinnati, very obvious starts here would be Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, right? Those would be your go-to guys. Start them. No questions there. Don't start their defense.
You shouldn't have picked up their defense. No one should have their defense on the bench.
You shouldn't have it. You shouldn't think about streaming them because what are they, Amanda, as we always say?
Booty hole.
Booty hole. Right.
Booty hole.
They are. So leave them on the side. Leave them in the waivers.
Absolutely. All right. On the Cleveland side of the football, there's honestly not a ton of people you should start. The Cleveland offense is just hard right now. However, Jerry Jeudy is an absolute must start. He's the clear wide receiver one. If you decided to pick him up, I passed on him in a lot of my drafts. But if you do have the Judesters, go ahead and give him a start. He's solid there. Obviously, Joe Flacco on the other side of the ball. We know Joe Flacco can throw the football well, and I think he will target Jerry Jeudy. And our second must start, David Njoku, tight end for the Cleveland Browns. Another great must start. He's just such a big dude. And Njoku has proved himself to perform well when he's healthy. And I just think he's going to be a really, really great option. They did revamp to a 2 tight end system, so I think that will only help Njoku as well. So definitely a must start from Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku. The only conversation here is if you are in a Superflex league, you could potentially, if like you took a Superflex second quarterback late and you have Joe Flacco, not a terrible Superflex start, not something that like I would aim for if I had other players, but if it was like my last fucking ditch effort, sure, I'd go for it for sure.
Yeah.
The only people you're sitting down, in my opinion, is the running back room, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, Quinshawn Judkins. Does he play for the Browns? Is he going to play for the Browns? Who the fuck knows? In my opinion, that's a droppable player. I've seen some people in our leagues do it. Just like
I can't even believe people grabbed him when they did. I was a little shocked by that.
You know what?
I mean, maybe they're taking a chance that he could be the change that they need in the backfield, but I don't even think he's going to be there. So
no, me either. Yeah,
you
no,
I this long.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I wouldn't start any of their running back room just because I'm not really sure how they're going to perform. No. So I would just sit them down as well. So that's Cleveland and Cincinnati, which could be kind of feature game of the week here. Because again, two big rivalries teaming up against each other in week one is always, it's a good time.
It is so much fun to watch.
All right, Miami and Indianapolis, baby.
Right, jumping into Miami here. Welcome to Miami. Would be
going to Miami.
Very obvious start would be Devon Achane. Did I say it right?
Achane.
I say it wrong every time.
Unless
he has passing. I don't know. It's not a Shawnee.
Now like I'm in my fucking head.
I know. So we're going to start Devon here for Miami. He has pass catching upside, so it's kind of a must when you have a running back that has that. We're putting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the start position. I know Tyreek's a little bit iffy. He can be a little bit of a diva. What's going to happen? How about his performance last year? I think he's going to bounce back. I think everything's going to be fine. And then same with Jalen Waddle. I think when Tua and Jalen are on the field together, when they are both healthy, they are dynamic. They are getting those points and they are consistent AF. So I think you should get some solid volume there.
Absolutely. Last year when Jalen and when Waddle and Tua were on the field at the same time, Waddle averaged 11.3 fantasy points a week, which is just a really consistent floor. And then he has a lot of upside if he does end up getting in the end zone. So that's why we're leaning towards the Waddle start. They're both healthy right now, so might as well capitalize on some points.
We love when he's in the end zone because
he waddles and like that's freaking epic.
It's so cool.
Absolutely. So in Miami, we're sitting Ollie Gordon. Obviously, I think he has great potential. If he's on your bench, good for you. I'm happy you drafted him. He's a great stash. If Achane gets hurt, Devon, we're just going to go again, Devon. If Devon ends up getting hurt, then Ollie is going to step in as a back. He's going to play as well. However, I just wouldn't consider him a start over Achane in my opinion.
And then jumping into Indianapolis, we finally got a quarterback there. We got a quarterback starting in Daniel Jones, which I think could be a good thing, especially for some of his receiving guys. And I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I know people fight back and forth about Richardson, about Daniel Jones. I think it'll be a good start at least, see what happens. But he had a strong preseason. He has rushing upside. I think that's on his side for sure. So I would start him. Also, obviously start Jonathan Taylor, a really safe bet in the backfield. And then Amanda mentioned Tyler Warren as her Sabase pick of the week. So she's gotta start him, right?
Yeah.
But he's expected to get some solid volume from Jones. Going to have an immediate impact. Plus, Miami really allowed a lot of points to tight ends last year. So I think that's another strong case for Tyler Warren.
Only thing I'll mention about Daniel Jones is, in my opinion, really only starting him if it's like you have no other options. You're not starting him over elite quarterbacks earlier in your league. So like if you have Baker, if you have Bo, if you have Kyler Murray, all of those guys are going to come well before Daniel Jones. This is really if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you needed another streamable quarterback, Daniel Jones is fine because he does have the upside of his legs as well. But if he's your only quarterback on the team, I would start even like a Caleb Williams over a Daniel Jones, in my opinion, just because I think you were going to get a little bit more predictability out of Caleb Williams. Josh Downs is our only question mark here. Obviously, I would start him if he's healthy. We are not sure if he's healthy or not, though. There hasn't been a ton that came out around if he's actually going to go week 1 or not. So it's just something to keep on your radar to make sure you stay up to date on. But if Josh Downs is a go, he is someone I would start for sure. So yeah, I think he's in the same league as like a Keon Coleman. I would go Ricky Pearsall over Josh Downs. But if you're thinking Keon Coleman or Josh Downs, I think either one of those are great. Slightly risky, albeit, yes, but really good, solid flex starts for you for the week as well.
All right, we are now headed over to Carolina and Jacksonville. We're definitely going to start Chuba Hubbard. I think he is expected to lead the backfield here, so get him a start. My spicy pick of the week was Teteroa McMillan. I think, like I said, he is going to be the clear alpha wide receiver. Put him in there, dynamic in the offense. And then we kind of suggest that Bryce Young is one of those iffy players, just like Amanda just talked about Daniel Jones. If you have him in a 2-quarterback league, he might be a good option. But in a regular PPR league, maybe wait to start him, maybe put him on the bench. So kind of elaborate on that if you think, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, if you took Bryce Young, you took him really late in your draft. So you probably already had another quarterback selected. I would play that other quarterback and have Bryce Young on my bench. Bryce Young's great if your lead quarterback gets hurt or if your lead quarterback underperforms, which happens. But I would definitely do like a Dak Prescott over Bryce Young for sure. Brock Purdy over Bryce Young. Bryce Young's only going in a super flex league if it's me, and he's only going in if I decided to punt my quarterback decision all the way down that draft board and I have no one else. That's the only reason I would play him. I'd probably go Caleb Williams over Bryce Young early in the season as well, but that's personal opinion. I'd also go Trevor Lawrence over Bryce Young. The only other risky start here from the Panthers, and this is more just if you're in a deep league anyways, is Jalen Coker. He is obviously a wide receiver for the Panthers. He will at some point probably be a really nice deep threat for them as well and be a really solid player. However, right now I would let him sit on your bench until you know for sure he's going to make his way into that offense in a very dominant way. The only way I'm playing a Jalen Coker is, again, if I'm in like a 14-16 team league and I was just like at the bottom of the dumpster looking for players. And yes, sure, great start for you. Moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, cat number 2 of this matchup. Some easy ones here, right? We like the cat start. Easy ones. Trevor Lawrence. Yes, if he's your only quarterback, start him. Again, typically, if you're in like a standard league with just one quarterback, you have another quarterback option instead of Trevor Lawrence, but in a super flex league, absolutely great start. Brian Thomas Jr., don't even question it. Put him in every single week. I also agree the same thing about Travis Hunter. Now, we know Travis Hunter plays both sides of the football. He's a rookie. We don't know. How's that going to go? I don't really know. I think people are a little bit nervous about the injury risk of him playing defense. So I think he fell quite a bit when it came to ADP. I think Travis Hunter is a no-brainer. I think he's going to win a lot of leagues this year. And so, to me, smash the start button. Go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah,
he's not going to goose egg you. He's not going to give you 0 points. No. I think he has a safety net of at least scoring you anywhere from like 5 to 8 points on the very limited side. But I think he's going to be that safety player later in the year where he's consistently at least scoring 11 to 15 points and then has the potential to absolutely blow your week away. So to me, Travis Hunter is a start. And then the only risky guy here, Travis Etienne, running back for the Jags. So just keep in mind that like he isn't someone I would start over other elite guys, but he's an option. I would definitely go Etienne over Tank Bigsby in my opinion. Etienne is pass catching running back, so he would be favorable to start in the running back position because he will score more points in a PPR league, which that's what you want. Point per reception, right? So when they're running, they get less points. If they catch and run, they're getting more points. So we love that from our running backs for sure.
Yeah.
The only guy I would sit for sure, Bretton Strange, unless for some reason he's your only tight end, but he's probably not, again, unless you
that would be
take him out of the
strange.
dumpster. Agreed. It would be. Oh, it would be strange. All right, let's move on. Vegas, New England. Take it over, Ange.
All right. So to start off our Vegas, you got to start Ashton Genty, right? He's a top draft pick. He's got a lot of buzz going on him. in the pass-heavy offense, start him, right? Brock Bowers, again, you got to start him. Brock Bowers is going to be the tight end stud in Las Vegas and actually also kind of acting like a wide receiver. I found a really cool stat that he had 112 receptions last year. That was third behind Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's a tight end. So it is awesome. So got to start him. And then we were a little bit in a disagreement about the Jakobi Meyers start or sit. I was on the fence to sit him just because of his the trade rumblings. He wanted to leave, but he didn't want to leave because of the team. He wanted to leave because of money. And Amanda, we talked, before and talked throughout kind of he's got to perform. So it's not like he can sit on the bench and say, oh, well, whatever, I don't care, because he wants his money, right? Everybody wants that money. So I think after speaking to the all wise Amanda, I've changed my decision to start. So to start Jakobi Meyers, I think he's going to be the guy to go to. And they added more depth in the wide receiver room, but I'm not starting Amari Cooper. I'm not going to go with Jack Besh, who's a rookie in week 1. So Jakobi Meyers, Amanda, you swayed me, can start.
Yeah, I'd throw him in my start. Again, if I'm kind of working with a limited wide receiver class and I'm working through some sketchier options, I think Jakobi Meyers is the least sketchy of a lot of them, so go for it. Guys, you're sitting, Geno Smith, you're sitting down. Again, unless you're in a 2 super flex league, then maybe Geno's your second quarterback, but I wouldn't start him as my singular quarterback. He could be a streaming option later in the year, though, depending on how he performs. Like Ange said, Jack Besh. I always want to say Beach. It just comes out like that. Jack Besh, set him on your bench. Could be a great rookie later in your year, though. Amari Cooper, if you got him, you probably got him off of free agency because most people didn't really know that he was going to be on a team when you were drafting. So he's an option. I just wouldn't start him week 1. And then I wouldn't start Raheem Mostert week 1 either. He's behind Ashton Genty. Just don't do that. Let Ashton Genty take the spotlight, shall we?
Yeah. And then in New England, we are saying start Drake May all day. I think he's a great start here at quarterback. We were kind of back and forth talking about Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, what we're going to do, what we were thinking here. I think sit Henderson for week 1, put in Stevenson for week 1, just because he has less risk. He's a little bit more seasoned. That's what I'm thinking. I think Travion later on in the season is going to be that guy for them. So I would not forget about him, obviously. Keep him there because he's gonna break out. I really do believe that. So
I mean, if we just think where they got drafted, I mean, Travion Henderson was being taken like 4th, 5th round, and Ramondre Stevenson was being taken 10th to 12th round. So like that shows you who's going to take over the backfield. Yeah. I think this is potentially could be a very controversial take where people very highly disagree with us of maybe sitting down Travion Henderson for week 1, but I believe that Stevenson will have most target share for at least the first few games.
Yeah.
And then they will slowly work Travion in as the full-time back, and that will shift. So in my opinion, if I can have Henderson on my bench for a couple weeks, I'm going to. And if I can cover myself with other running backs, I will. And that would just our personal opinion. You don't have to trust us. You can risk it for the biscuit, but that's just food for thought there.
Yes. And then lastly, Stephon Diggs, he's on New England. He's coming off from an ACL injury. He's a little bit older, so you kind of have to go kind of weigh those options. Now, if you have him, I would put him in over other guys. Like he would be over Michael Pittman, put Stephon Diggs in, right? Yeah. If you're going Khalil Shakir, that's a mouthful. I'd probably go Shakir. Debo, I would go Debo over Diggs. Pearsall over Diggs, but I think Diggs is a viable option, and I think he could be a really great flex option for you.
I agree. I think Diggs is kind of in that conversation with Cooper Kupp too, where both are a little bit risky. We're just not sure. I would personally preference Stephon Diggs over Cooper Kupp, in my opinion, there too. So I agree. The only guy you're definitely sitting is Demario Douglas. I would sit him down on the bench. Who could be a decent flex option in the future, just wouldn't be a flex option for week number 1. All right, Arizona and New Orleans. We're going to start on the New Orleans side of the football here. Easy players to start. You were starting Alvin Kamara for sure. He's really kind of one of the most clear and obvious people to start coming out of the Saints room. The only other conversation is around Chris Olave. which in my personal opinion, if you could afford to sit him week 1, I think I would. I think I would sit Olave down. Yeah, I think that obviously with Rattler as a starting quarterback, that just gives us a lot of unknowns. Is he actually going to be able to perform in an elite fashion in the NFL or not? Is that going to massively just injure the entire wide receiving core of the Saints? That's why I think Kamara is such a good option, because he's going to get a lot of work, which he always gets a lot of work. He is that guy. Yes, he's older, but he's still that guy. So I think that's far more valuable. And again, I would go like Ricky Pearsall over Chris Olave. I would go Garrett Wilson over Olave. I'd go Emeka Buka over Olave, right? All of these guys would take a starting role over him. Just because, again, I'm worried about not only the quarterback situation there, but I'm also worried about Chris Olave's health. He's had lots of concussions. Again, not that deters me from playing somebody altogether, but I worry one wrong hit and he's out for 3 weeks, and then what? So if you have an option to pivot, go for it. The only other guy I would wait on, so he'd sit week 1 for sure, maybe sit the first few weeks, Rashid Shaheed. You could have taken him really, really deep in your draft. He could end up being a great option. I think he was a great draft, just not draft to start week 1, but good option to keep in mind there too. All right, take over Arizona's side of the football.
Arizona, kind of obvious starts would be start Kyler Murray, start James Conner, clear workhorse for the Cardinals. Trey McBride, one of those top tight ends, got to start him. And then we're really hoping for great things with Marvin Harrison Jr. this season. I think that is going to be there. I think this is going to be his breakout season. I think this is the game that he's going to show his stuff, especially with the Saints secondary. So definitely start him as kind of a comeback story.
Yeah, I would love to see Marv just come out and absolutely take the league by storm early. I think Marvin Harrison has the potential to walk away in the top 5 wide receivers this year.
Agree.
So again, I think he'll have a really great sophomore bounce back? Rebound? I don't know.
Rebound or bounce back?
I think he's going to come back hard, okay? All right. Pittsburgh, the Steelers versus the Jets, which if you didn't know, we are big Steelers fans, so just deal with it, okay? We cannot see eye to eye on that. It's fine. Deal with it. But it'll buff out.
Never going to change.
Let's start on the opposite side of the football. Let's start with the New York Jets. In my opinion, you are going to sit down Justin Fields. You should have another quarterback. If you have him, he's probably in a super flex league, then sure, fine, go ahead and risk it for the biscuit on Justin Fields. The only upside of Justin Fields is that he does run the ball a lot. Right. I just worry sometimes you might rely too much on running the football and not calming down and throwing the ball. But, personal opinion, I would probably say Breece Hall, gosh, he fell in a lot of drafts. The running back room is very crowded for the Jets. Also, I just have never had the belief in Breece Hall. So for some reason, you have enough or running backs to cover him. I might even say I would start a Travion Henderson over a Breece Hall, which, it just, I don't have any faith in Breece Hall, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to have that year. I just don't think he showed it. So he's someone that I would try to hide on my bench if possible. Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, and again, me and Ange probably don't completely agree here. I think he's a must start. I don't think he's a guy I'm ever going to really sit down on my bench. I took him too early in the draft to sit his ass down. And yes, the Steelers defense is great. They're that guy, but I don't see a world where I'm able to sit Garrett Wilson unless you're in like an 8-team league and you have a really deep wide receiver room. I think you have to start Garrett Wilson. That's the Jets. There's not a ton of people there that I'm looking at.
No, but moving into Pittsburgh, greatest team that ever was. We're going to start with DK Metcalf. He's a must start here. New team, new quarterback. He's the top target for Aaron Rodgers. You got to start him. Risky start would be Jaylen Warren. So it's a little bit iffy. He's projected to be the lead back for the Steelers. And then, we talked about Caleb Johnson a little earlier, would probably sit him this week just because he's not going to take that role. Maybe later on in the season, maybe he shines a little bit. We see what he's capable of, but he could end up getting good volume. I think that like I said, it's a risky start. If you have him with other solid running backs, that might be a flex option. Or you might just sit him this week, see how it goes, and then bump him in the future. Like we said, sit Caleb Johnson just because we're unsure of kind of his abilities in the NFL thus far. And then Aaron Rodgers is another, unless we keep saying this, unless he is your second QB in a super flex, he should be sit on the bench, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of go with higher running upside quarterbacks, let's say like a Daniel Jones, who rushes the ball, who can move the ball with his legs, right? And Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. He say, no, I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to throw from right here, and that's all I'm doing, right? So
pocket passer through and through. Yep.
Yes, I would say don't start him for week 1, but later on in the season might be a change up.
Absolutely. And at that point, you probably don't have him on your team, but he could be a streaming option in the future. Yeah. All right. Looking at Tennessee and Denver, must starts for Tennessee. Tony Pollard. Yes, absolutely. Tajay Spears is hurt. Tony Pollard is going to be the lead back. So go ahead and give him a start for sure. And definitely he's a start over like a Jaylen Warren as well. So like if you're deciding between those two guys, it is Tony Pollard over Jaylen Warren. No brainer. And then Calvin Ridley, in my opinion, he's a must start. I'm going to throw him out there. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit with him and his rookie quarterback, Cam Ward. He had a great year last year, despite the Mayo King himself being very unpredictable in their offense. So I think Calvin Ridley is going to, again, be the number one target on the offense. I think he's going to find a way to catch the ball, and I think Cam Ward's going to target the shit out of him. So I think he is a very good option. Now, you are talking about how they're facing Denver, which is a very, very tough defense. I'm still in favor of throwing it out there. They've got to pass the ball at some point if they want to win, right? So I think Calvin Ridley's a solid start. I'm sitting a Cam Ward. If you have him, you drafted him for the future. You did not draft him for week 1, so sit him down. I'm also sitting down Tyler Lockett, who is now with the Titans, but would not get a week 1 start for me. If you're looking at, if you have like a Tyler Lockett, then like Lockett, I would go, a Waddle over Lockett. I'd go a Cooper Kupp over a Lockett. So just like keeping some of those things in mind too, but he would be on my bench at all costs until proven otherwise.
Yep. And then jumping into Denver, definitely got to start Cortland Sutton. I think he's a reliable fantasy pick, should remain a leader on the offense. Start Bo Nix, easy week 1 start. I think he has a lot of upside for this 25-26. Oh my goodness. 25-26 season, making him have upside because he can score some touchdowns himself as well. Some of the riskier picks for Denver would be J.K. Dobbins and Marvin Mims. Dobbins is expected to lead the backfield, but it's a little bit risky because of his injury history. He could offer you good RB2 value later if he maintains healthy, maintains his role. And then Marvin Mims recently left practice early due to a groin. I hate saying that word, groin injury. But I think he's great to have on your bench and pop in later on this season. I think he's going to be kind of a good asset to have for you. So deeper into the season, take a chance on him.
Absolutely. You're also going to sit RJ Harvey for now. At some point, the roles might reverse there as well as most running back rooms will. RJ Harvey might take over the backfield from J.K. Dobbins, either due to injury or just due to the fact that RJ Harvey might perform better. Also going to sit Troy Franklin if you have him in a deeper league. Sit him week number 1 if possible. We just don't know his role yet, but if Marvin Mims is out for any reason, Troy Franklin could become a potential option later in the year. All right, San Fran and Seattle. We're going to talk San Francisco 49ers side of the football first. There's some obvious must-starts here. You are starting CMC, period, dot, end of story. Yep. Don't be that guy. Don't be worried about it. Start him. Brock Purdy, you're starting him as well. I think it's a really solid quarterback option. You can get him at a pretty good value in drafts, so go with that. Ricky Dickey Pearsall. I don't know why I want to call him Ricky Dickey, but he will forever be Ricky Dickey here on Let's Talk Football Sis. So Ricky Dickey himself is a must-start. Brandon Ayuk is unavailable. Deebo Samuel is out. Who the fuck are they throwing the football to? They're throwing the football to Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle. Start both of those guys in week number 1 for sure. And sit down Brian Robinson. I've seen way too many mock or like rosters come through in my DMs of like, I think I'm going to start Brian Robinson week 1. And I'm like, no, he's a clear, but he's not even going to share like a 50-50 split with CMC. No. He's just the backup to CMC. He's great to stash on your bench in case CMC does get hurt, but go ahead and keep him out of your lineup in week number 1.
Exactly. And then over in Seattle, must starts would be Kenneth Walker. Yes, he's been dealing with injuries, but he appears to be healthy. If Kenneth Walker is healthy, he is going to be great in the backfield. So get him in there. And then Jackson Smith Njigma, JSN. I'm just going to say JSN. JSN. A lot of a name. Is going to be the clear wide receiver 1 in the Seahawks offense with Sam Darnold as the QB. So start him. And then one of our riskier iffy picks would be Zach Charbonnet. I think he is great to have on your team. I think he is going to have a timeshare with Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker likes to get injuries, so Charbonnet will be the guy that you need. He's a talented player. He's a great deep league flex option, bench stash, all those great things, and obviously a great handcuff. And he could get in more goal line, plays. So make some tutties. We like some good tutties, right?
Tutties.
Big tutties. So I would bench him week 1, and go for a more favorable running back. But he is, I think, a great snag if you were able to get him.
Absolutely. I'd also say, I would go Jaylen Warren over Zach Charbonnet week 1. So if you really needed to make a risky play, though, I would go Warren over Charbonnet in my personal opinion. I think Warren will see more time, more snaps, etc. Only player to sit there is Cooper Kupp. Obviously, he's a declining veteran because he's a little bit old. He's now with Seattle, and so I would sit him for now and see how things go and kind of go from there. Detroit, Green Bay. So Detroit, there's some easy starts here. Jameer, right? Jameer?
Yep, we got it. Jameer. We got it today.
Jameer Gibbs, smash, put him in. Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously. Sam Laporta, yes, as well. Go ahead and give all those guys a start. If you did end up getting David Montgomery, I think he's a fine option to start as well. Obviously, yes, Gibbs and Montgomery do split time, but we've seen that they can both be fantasy relevant at the same time. So I would not let the just performance of Gibbs deter you from Montgomery. I think he's a fine start.
Yep.
Jamison Williams, again, I think he's also a fine start. There is a little bit of risk to that because he is now sharing, obviously, his wide receiving room with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but also with Isaac Tesla. I was like, what is his name? I couldn't remember what his last name was. But he is also spending time with Isaac Tesla. So are you a little bit worried about Jamison Williams' relevance all year? He does also love to get in trouble and get suspended. But I think he's a clear start for week 1. The only guy, Jared Goff, yes, he's a clear start if you ended up drafting him as your quarterback. If you have him as a second quarterback, no, sit Jared Goff down. But Jared Goff is reliable. He's just a pocket passer though, so keep in mind that he has great upside for scoring touchdowns, but not himself. He will pass those touchdowns. The only player to sit unless you're in a super duper deep league is Isaac Tesla. If you're in a deep league, sure, you can go ahead and give it a shot, but if you're not in a deep league, sit him on your bench until we know what's going to happen from there.
Yeah, right. And then over in Green Bay, must start Josh Jacobs. I think great start there. Jordan Love as quarterback, great start also. Really strong quarterback there. And then in the wide receiver room is where we're going to talk about in Green Bay. It's a little bit risky.
It's super risky.
It is super risky. There's really no clear wide receiver 1. And I think that's where Matthew Golden kind of steps into the game here, right? There's a lot of injury. Watson's out. Reed's dealing with a Jones fracture. Dr. Amanda, what does that mean?
He just has a fracture on the outside of his foot by his pinky toe.
Thank you, doctor.
And it is typically something that players need surgery for. He's been playing through the pain. And so I just think, how long is that going to last before he's benched? Yeah. So to me, that puts Matthew Golden in a very, very risky week 1 start.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to take the shot on it, I think we could be looking back at that decision as holy shit, I can't believe I did it. But he scored me a shit ton of points.
Yeah, I think so too.
Absolutely. You're going to sit Wicks. You're going to sit Romeo Doubs as well. Those are guys that you're not going to think about putting out there just yet. Wicks showed a little something last year, but then did absolutely nothing after that. That's why we don't love the wide receiver class in Green Bay right now. All right, Houston and the Rams. Houston must start. Some no-brainers here. Obviously, we're going to go Nico Collins. If CJ Stroud's your quarterback, run it back with him. Go ahead and start him. And then same thing with Dalton Schultz. If he's your only tight end, go ahead and start him. If he's not your only tight end, maybe don't start him. But I also feel some type of way of people who draft 2 tight ends. It's just not something I typically do. I will just stream that position as needed. Players to consider that are a little bit risky here is Nick Chubb. We know that Joe Mixon might not play all year. He might never play in the NFL this year, which is sad to think about because he did have a really great year last year. But Nick Chubb is in their backfield, and so he could be a potentially really great start. A little bit risky for sure because we just don't know how Chubb's going to perform after multiple injuries and his age, but he could be an option there. And then obviously you have Dameon Pierce, who, again, I wouldn't start Dameon Pierce. I would start Nick Chubb over Dameon Pierce if I was deciding between the two, but Dameon Pierce might be a name you want to keep in mind for later in the year as well.
Yes. And then over on the Rams, obvious player to start would be Puka Nacua. coming into his sophomore, what you said, bounce back or bounce
His
in
bounce
or
back.
whatever you said, bounce back. I think he's going to just continue on that trajectory up, up, and up. And then Kyron Williams, another key player. You got to start him at running back. I think that is also a great pick. And then Devontae Adams, lastly, he's a top tier wide receiver. You got to get him started. The only if and the only risky or sits kind of thing here would be Matthew Stafford, right? He's been dealing with this back injury. We're not sure how long it's going to be before maybe he goes down permanently for the year. I think clearly this will be the best game he has because it'll be the first game that he has that he's probably the healthiest, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of the season, he's going to kind of be on a decline because back injuries are rough. It takes a lot out of you. So that's going to affect Adams. It's going to affect Puka Nacua. So sit Matthew Stafford if you have him on your lineup probably later on. You probably picked him up. So if you have a two quarterback league, sit him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be overly worried about Puka or Devontae Adams, regardless of what quarterback ends up having to slip in there. If Stafford does get hurt, I still think they're viable starts every single week in fantasy football. All right, moving on here, we have Buffalo and Baltimore and Buffalo. The B's got me. The BBs. Baltimore and Buffalo. We'll start with Baltimore. There's a lot of no-brainers here. You're starting Lamar Jackson. You're starting him every single week except when he's on a bye. I don't care if he has a shitty week. Suck it up, Buttercup. Deal with it. Derrick Henry, you're starting him every week as well. And specifically in week 1, you're starting Zay Flowers. You're starting Mark Andrews. All of these guys are goes. Mark Andrews has great upside earlier in the year. Isaiah likely is injured right now, so he's likely not going to start. He's not likely to start. You get it? And so Mark Andrews, for sure, earlier in the year, who knows what his performance is going to look like all year. And Mark Andrews was an interesting player last year for many people in fantasy because he goose-egged a lot of people for a long time and then decided to perform.
I was one of them.
Oh, the only people I'm sitting from the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sitting Rashad Bateman. I'm sitting Justice Hill. Justice is just the backup to Derrick Henry. He has shown fantasy relevance in the past, so not a terrible option to again think about if somebody ends up getting hurt and you need a really awkward option later in the year. He's not a bad flex option. Rashad Bateman, I'm not going to flex him unless I'm absolutely desperate to do so. But if you're in a super deep league, that wouldn't be the worst start ever.
And then over on the Bills, just like Amanda said about Lamar, Josh Allen, you are starting him every week. You are just taking it. Even if he's not having a great game, it's still going to be a pretty great game as his bad game. James Cook, again, running back, got to start him. Dalton Kincaid as tight end, I think is a great move here to start as well. Projected to have increased role in 2025, so start him. And then Khalil Shakir, wide receiver, going to be a really key receiver for Josh Allen. To start, the season. So gotta put him on the team. Gotta start him out there. And then Keon Coleman, who's my spicy pick. He's a little bit risky. Could be a little risky player. We don't know what's going to happen in this season. He showed some promise last year. I think he could be a deep league flex option. I would keep him kind of there for now. So kind of tread a little bit lightly with Keon Coleman.
Absolutely. All right, last game here, last matchup of the week. We have Minnesota and Chicago. From the Vikings, no-brainer starts here. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. These are all guys who you should not hesitate at all. You should throw them in your lineup. Risky or deep league options here. So Adam Thielen's great for a risky or deep league choice. So if you're in a very deep league and you're really struggling for wide receivers, I think Adam Thielen, who did just join the Minnesota Vikings, could be an option. If I would, though, if you took him later in your draft, I would wait on him until later in the year just to see what actually happens. He hasn't had a ton of experience with the Minnesota offense yet, so starting him week 1 isn't something I would suggest you do. I would sit him down for now, but he could become a really great flex option in the future. Again, I'm only starting J.J. McCarthy in a super flex league. I would never start him if I have a standard flex and I don't need 2 quarterbacks. I just wouldn't risk it for the biscuit on him early. So those are start and sits there in Minnesota. Let's talk about the other side of the football.
So for Chicago.
Oh, wait, I didn't talk about Aaron Jones. Pause. Let's finish that off. Aaron Jones, Minnesota. He's also a start of the week for sure. Obviously, we know Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason will be sharing time. I think it's going to start very similar, like we talked about with all these running classes. Aaron Jones will lead most of the backfield, and then it'll switch, and Jordan Mason will become more prominent later in the year, or if Aaron Jones gets hurt. But I would start Aaron over Mason in week number 1.
Yeah. And then for the Bears, got DJ Moore. I think he's a clear, really, really good wide receiver. I think he's going to be even increased usage for this season. DeAndre Swift expected to be a really good running back and really impressed in preseason, so his ability is going to keep extending. And then we're on the fence about Caleb Williams, but I think he's a solid start. I think dependent on maybe who they're playing this week, their matchups, those are things to kind of take into play when it comes to choosing a QB to start. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he comes out year number 2. Obviously, he disappointed last year. He did not perform the way we thought. And we kind of saw the reverse with CJ Stroud last year, or in his rookie year, came out swinging, hot, heavy, and then had a huge sophomore dip. So, typically we tend to see people rebound other ways. So I'm hoping to see Caleb Williams have an upswing here. Right. Again, another must-start wide receiver, Robodunze. I think he's a great secondary wide receiver option in that offense as well. So to me, he would be a must-start as well. Sit/cautionary players here, Luther Burden, sit him down, wait until we know what his role is actually going to be. The only other guy, Colston Loveland, baby. I think obviously that's sketchy. It's unsure. I have him in one of my leagues. I will be starting him as a tight end. I don't literally give a shit. I'm going to go for it. He is technically sharing time with Cole Kmet, but I would still risk it for the biscuit anyways and see what happens. I think Colston Loveland's going to become the tight end 1 of that team. And I have a feeling that he's going to end up performing in maybe, again, the top 5 tight ends on the year and become an elite guy most people are targeting next year, but that's just my personal opinion.
I like it.
That's it. That's every game.
We did it. That was a lot of games. We got a lot of friggin' football to watch, girl.
We are so ready, baby. The fun thing is, too, me and Ange will actually be together for the Thursday night football game because as batshit crazy as we are running a 25K trail race, which is 15.5 miles, because I'm going to brag on that, the Saturday before Sunday kickoff. So I'm envisioning a Thursday night football with a little bit of food, carb loading ahead of our Sunday race day, and it's going to be a chef's kiss lead into NFL football, right?
Saturday race day, Sunday pure and utter rot day.
Rot day. We earned that rot day to tremendous proportions at that point, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hopefully this gets you guys ready and prepared for week 1 of fantasy football matchups. If you have any specific sit-start questions, what I am going to encourage you to do is a couple things. Number 1, comment below on Spotify, on YouTube. Ask your questions. We will be doing a featured section in every single podcast moving forward, featuring your sit-start questions and giving you our unsolicited and maybe slightly intense opinions because that's how we roll. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode because we are going to get you ready every single week for NFL football and to freaking dominate your fantasy football season, matchup, every single week. You get what I mean, right?
The whole damn
thing. Okay, cool. So subscribe to the podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, all of it. Follow us, TikTok, Instagram. All of the content will be coming at you all freaking season long because we got your back, babe. We're going to help you win the goddamn championship, okay?
We have got you.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week, guys. We will talk to you soon and have a wonderful Rot Day Sunday for kickoff of fantasy football. See you guys later.
Rot it up, y'all. See ya.
Good.